Again, hey everyone, welcome to the Love Your Body podcast. And on today's episode, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope that you are either spending it with your family, doing something that you want to do, like however you're enjoying the holiday. I hope that you're not feeling left out or that you should be somewhere else than where you're at. Something that I've really been trying to focus on, over the past few months is being present in everything that I do, right? So instead of because I'm always so busy and getting to, one place to another and everything like that. And I really just want to focus in on, you know, obviously everyone's going to tell you, enjoy being with your family or if you're doing community service or like whatever it is, but really ask yourself, why are you doing the things that you're doing, right? So like for example, I've always felt like I have been very I guess I don't wanna say selfish, but, like, very just, like, upfront about how I wanna spend my time, and the more and more I get into my healthy lifestyle journey, the more I realize, like, how important that is, right? For mental health and just, like, for my recovery with everything, in terms of food and physical and everything like that, and so, I've been talking to clients about it, and a lot of times people will say, "Oh, well, I feel obligated to go do this," or "I feel like I have to go do this," or whatever. No one is making you do anything, right? So if you want to spend your holiday eating, pizza in front of like Netflix and with your partner or by yourself or with your cat or whoever, like who's to say you can't enjoy the holiday that way, right? And I think that for me, I would rather do something like that, enjoy it, than sit around with a bunch of people that like I don't want to be around. And so for me, it's like this year, for example, my dad is healthy enough, so we're going to Lawrenceburg, and we'll see my aunts and uncles and all them. I haven't seen them in about a year, and it's always a good time in terms of like just like catching up and things like that. But in everything that I'm doing, like if I was in a prep or if I was getting ready for a show or something, like I would not be going, just because again, I would have to look at myself and say, okay, like for my mental health, for everything that I have going on and whatever, I really want to stay super focused and, and this and that, whatever. Well, because of how it's lined up, it's been really awesome to be able to say, okay, everyone's asked me, are you going to meal prep? Are you going to eat? What are you going to do? Well, the big question that for me is like, I am going to be eating for the first time, probably like majority of the day, Thanksgiving food. And I'm not a big fan of Thanksgiving food, but I will say that I don't know, I feel like before I used to do this meal prep company and all this stuff, right? And did that, and it was fine, and I enjoyed it and things like that, but I really wanna test myself and see, like, the parameters of eating the food that is made for me, like, how I will do with that, and so, like, we always talk about on here about, like, stepping out of your comfort zone and things like that, and even though I've gone to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving, year after year after year after year after year, this time looking at it like, okay, I'm going to be get to dress up, wear these clothes, have fun, just get to enjoy myself and whatever. And if I want to eat the cookie that's laid out, then I'm going to have the cookie. If I want to have the dressing, I'm going to have the dressing. If I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to look at it as, okay, well, so that the next day I'm working out, so this is my excuse. Or here's another thing that I hate seeing during this time of the year: you deserve to eat that meal. Okay, so the thing is, guys, like, no matter if you're a size 0, if you're a size 30, like, it's not about, like, "Oh, you work so hard, so you should, like, enjoy that meal." Like, at the end of the day, I think that we get so caught up on, "Okay, well, I made the weight that I'm supposed to be at, so therefore I can eat, XYZ." It it's good to have a regimen, 90% of the time, but, with days like this, I really want you to look at why you feel that you should have, like, why do you feel like you're eating the way you're eating, right? So if you want to have the salad, then like have the salad. If you want to have the pie, like have the pie. Like you don't owe an explanation to anyone. You don't owe, a discussion of like, oh well, I worked out all this weekend, so now I'm gonna eat my food. No one cares. And or no one should care, honestly. Like if they're that wrapped up in it with you, like that's their own insecurity and that's their own issue. And that's something that I really like. I don't know. I know that I've gone through different holidays and I'm continuing to learn and continuing to gather information about myself. And something that has been funny is that, like, I watched that Love is Blind show, right? And on Netflix, don't watch it, it's trash. But everyone was talking about this whole like cuties episode thing. And like cuties, like the small little oranges that you can eat and stuff like that as a little snack. And I ate them before. And they're great, great for a little snack. And it's just fruit. But basically, the guy on there, like the girl was eating them before like a big dinner, and he was like, well, you don't want to spoil your appetite or whatever. But the way that she made it sound like to everyone in America was that he was like critiquing her food and always making her feel less than, and that she was not pretty and that she was overweight and she's whatever. A lot of that she like projected onto him because of her insecurities. And people may have watched the show and think differently, but if you watch the reunion thing, it's very clear. Like he was not critiquing her about the cues. He was actually eating them with her, and then was like, "Oh, you're gonna have another one." She's like, "Yeah, the serving size, is that okay?" And she snapped at him. And I have done that before too, and I totally get it, guys, and I understand. Like it is one of those things where because in society we are told that we should eat like very little as women, or if you're a larger body, obviously you eat a lot, right? So if like everyone's watching your move, everyone's watching you, you know, grab the mac and cheese. And if you get a second serving of the mac and cheese or the third serving or whatever, right? But if you're small and you do that, it's okay, because obviously like you look fine, right? So you can eat that. That's what I want us to get away from. So again, no matter if you're a size 0 or a size 30, it doesn't matter. Like if you decide to overeat, you're overeating that day. If you decide to undereat, you're undereating that day. Like it shouldn't reflect of like where you're like how you how your body looks in that moment, right? And so yeah, and again, if this is like your celebration day, you have been like on it and stuff like that, like that's awesome, and like you want to make it like that, that is totally fine. But for me, I'm personally working on not like when I saw that whole episode, like how she snapped at him, I was like, I have done that before plenty of times, because for every day of my life from a certain age period, certain age, and even like when I was an adult working at this gym before I started my business, every day someone critiqued my food. And it was so hurtful and it was so upset. And actual critiques like, oh, do you really think you should be having that? Or like, well, it was just one of those of like, well, obviously you want the cookies, right? Like very mean comments. And like, again, you get through that, you move past it, right? To be your best self. And that's why I think that the girl on the show like did not do and hasn't done yet and is maybe working through that on her own time. But, you know, it was truly a sight where I was like, man, I want to be so good with like everything that I have. It's like even now I've been posting more about my food. I have been more mindful. Like when people ask me like, what is that or whatever, maybe it's just out of them being inquisitive, right? It's not a critique. It's not a stressful thing. So we can't like, again, it's good to have your guard up, but like when you're almost so nervous about it yourself, it's like almost like you bring it upon yourself sometimes, if that makes sense. Like I like if you're kind of walking on eggshells and then someone's like comes up to you and says, and then you snap. It's like, oh man. So I don't know. I just think that I don't know. I've learned so much over the past like few months, and even with bodybuilding, that has just taught me a lot about myself. And this past weekend was such a great time for that, because I realized that you know, I was in a room filled with really fit people. My trainer, his fiance, and then we had it was just like a bunch of different people. They were either engaged or they were married or had the kids or whatever, right? And basically, you know, I'm sitting there and I didn't feel less than or feel like I shouldn't be there, whatever. I had a good time. And then Blake and his girlfriend were there too. And it was just one of those moments, where they were like, you can eat, like, we have food here. But like, I didn't feel like I could eat the food in front of all of them, because I didn't want to have to explain that, like, okay, well, yeah, I'm in bodybuilding. Yes, I'm gonna doing a show, but like tonight's like my free meal and I get to eat this. Like, you know what I mean? But again, I don't know if they would have even asked or even, and I know they wouldn't have even cared, but past traumas of being around people and all of them looking at me as like, oh, okay, well, clearly that's why she's eating this much or doing that or whatever. And that makes sense of how you look. It's just so hard. And I've been there. And so that's why I really encourage you to have a moment with yourself before you go to Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving lunch, whatever it might be. And just kind of keep it real with yourself of like, okay, I'm on this journey. I understand where I'm at. And, people usually are not trying to be hurtful. They're usually just saying things to say things, or, like I'm sure like my aunts and uncles will say, or someone will say, oh, I'm starting my diet on Monday. Cool. Like that's great for you, right? Like, what I do is not what you do, or we have different bodies and different goals and stuff like that. So again, you almost expect it, like you know what's going to happen kind of thing, but I don't want to go into it with like a negative mindset, right? So I think turning that negative into a positive, looking at like, this is maybe an opportunity to explain to people that like, oh yeah, well, my trainer, like I told my clients, I told them that we're gonna have protein first, then have your veggies, then have your carb, then have your dessert, right? So because if everybody starts out with a dessert, like you roll out of bed, you have the cinnamon rolls, you're probably gonna keep eating the cinnamon rolls all day long. You know what I'm saying? Or like you're barely gonna get your protein in because you're gonna get too full with it. So you're gonna eat the carbs and the bread and all the stuff, whatever. And so you're not even going to get like the actual nutrients that you need in that day. And that's why you're going to feel lethargic and feel like you overate and that you just don't feel your best, right? And so that's why I always say kind of start out like that. Stay hydrated, drink your regular water like you would. Even if you're having alcohol, still drink a glass of water. So if you have your alcohol, have a glass of water, and have your alcohol, have a glass of water, and that'll help you to be able to drive home. That'll help you to be able to sleep better. And it's just going to help you to stay more in your regimen the next day. Also, another thing, like if you didn't meal prep for the next day for Friday, then, going and finding, prepped meals or having a game plan versus being like, oh, I'm going to take all these leftovers and then I'm going to have Thanksgiving food Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday until you get back to the grocery store, right? That is when people they freak out about like, okay, the number on the scale, or they freak out about, putting on weight or getting like losing all their progress. And guys, if you've been in this healthy lifestyle journey for longer than, you know, 3 weeks, like then you're going to like you're not going to lose all your progress, and I know that we all kind of just need to hear that because it is hard to be like, oh, Danny, I'm going to get on the scale. And I do highly encourage you not get on the scale. I'm not getting on the scale the next day. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not getting on the scale until I feel good and ready, which probably won't be until literally the next like week, like later in the week when I have like, when I don't feel like I'm puffy from all the salt and sodium, when I feel like I'm hydrated and not like dehydrated anymore. Like there's so many things that like, no, like unless I was getting ready for a show or something called for that, I just highly don't recommend it. So you have to be realistic with yourself and playing with fire like that, like you kind of know what's going to happen. So unless you did, bring all your meals, which I've done before, I've done it every type of Thanksgiving. I've done Thanksgiving where I have prepped my meals. I've done Thanksgiving where I've gotten a meal prep company and used their meals. I have, eaten better healthy choices of Thanksgiving variations of food. I have not eaten any of the food at all. Like, I mean, I've done so many different variations. And this year, like I really do want to test myself to see, okay, enjoy this food, be mindful, but also like I just want to like have some beef stew and like when I get home with my parents, like I haven't had that in like a year or however long, and like and do things like that, or have like pumpkin bread. Haven't had that in a hot minute. Like so just like things that are really special and intentional and like going ahead and knowing that like, okay, weight is not permanent. Like you've already shown that with yourself by how you've lost weight or, how you're building muscle or whatever, like, and that there's different seasons of time. So if you want to see like how I'm putting on my social media and how a lot of bodybuilders at this point, they're saying it's improvement season, right? Improvement season just means that we're putting on more body fat. Like we're building muscle, but we're putting on more body fat and we're getting into the winter months and whatever, but we're like taking more calories. So we're able to lift more and things of that nature, which if you're on a regular healthy lifestyle journey, it's the same type of thing. You're going to, not necessarily be trying to, put on body fat. You're going to be putting on muscle though. And you're trying to, lift heavier and burn more calories and everything like that. Just because we're not gonna be outside and not going to be in the heat as much. So it's just one of those things where every season is different, but I encourage you to not be scared this holiday season and to really walk forward and embrace it and acknowledge that maybe you aren't as far along as you thought you were, or maybe you like mindset wise, or maybe you are, trying to step out of your comfort zone like me and like test it and see like, hey, well, I may pass out because I'm gonna like overeat a ton and just and go crazy, right? I don't know. But if I do, it's one day, and if I don't, then it's cool too. Like this isn't like a value system. So don't use Thanksgiving as your end all be all. Did I surpass? Was I successful like the girl on Instagram who's going to post a photo in her bikini, eating a turkey drumstick or something? Like, I don't know. Like, again, it doesn't matter what other people do and where they're at in their journey. Like, you just have to be real about yours. And so I really encourage you to lean into your coaches, into your significant others, if you are dealing with grief or anything like grief group, like anything like that. And really just hone in on that. And that was something else I wanted to bring up, is that if this is a time of loss or sadness or anything like that, um, you know, it is okay to, again, take your time and be by yourself. You don't have to be around family if that's not what, you know, is in your plan. And you need some time by yourself, or, or just with that one friend, or do a friendsgiving or whatever it might be. But the obligation of feeling like you have to, especially as women, feel like you have to show up to certain things, or you have to go to this, or you have to do that, or you have to bake the meal. Man, I saw a meme. It was hilarious. It was like my mom asked me what I was bringing for Thanksgiving. Oh, what is it? And or something like, yeah, asked like what I was bringing for Thanksgiving. And I said, I'm making, or like, what are you making for Thanksgiving? And she was like, I'm gonna make a scene or something like that. And it's like, yeah, like, like it's again, it is, if you are, I don't know, it's just so funny because it's like I am not making anything. And maybe again, that goes back to the being selfish type thing, but I'm not good at baking. I meal prep, but ain't nobody's gonna want me to make a pie. All right. The pie is not gonna turn out well. It's just not. Like, I don't really know. I'm not gonna follow the instructions. I'm gonna get frustrated. I'm gonna throw a bunch of sugar in there, and it's just gonna be nonsense. So for me, it's like I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, and therefore I could go pick up at the store some wine for everybody. I could go get pecan pie or whatever, pecan pie. Like, I'll like again, that's because I know myself and I know what I'm capable of, right? And I know that like my aunt is gonna make all the things in the world. And if she really needs something, like we can go to the store and we'll go pick it up for her, whatever, to help out. But at the end of the day, like I already worked, every day this week. Long hours to get everyone in so that they felt successful for this week and felt strong. Got everybody a workout for Friday so that way they can do it after, Thanksgiving and feel, a little less bloated and less inflamed from everything. So they're sweating, they're moving, and just feeling better in their body, right? Trying to get everything lined up for the end of the year. Like there's so many other things that took priority that like just because it was a holiday, like I am not stopping in my tracks to appease others, right? So I'm gonna bring myself and be intentional about conversations, and again, coming out of grief, especially around the holidays and everything, and instead of focusing on what's not there, focusing on all the things that are there, and that I am, wanting to be more present, and especially with like losing Winston, which I posted about, everything like that. Like it's one of those things where it really does remind you, obviously that life is short, but that you just want to live in the moment and just enjoy it. And like, and you're not gonna have these times all the time. And even my mom said something the other day about like, she's like, it's gonna be really sad one day when I'm not here to, help make Thanksgiving food with you or whatever. And I was like, no, like I'm pretty sure you're gonna be helping make Thanksgiving food for a long time because I don't really want to do it. And hopefully I find a man that can cook for me and can do all that. But again, it's just like, I told her, I was like, let's not worry about that until that comes, like you never, I mean, just it's silly to get sad about those things and already think about that or whatever. So really just told her, like, let's be present in the moment of like you, me, and dad spending time together and getting to go down and drive down together and him being healthy enough to be around people and celebrate another Thanksgiving. So again, try to put it, turn the negative into a positive. And if you need anything as support, like I am here, you can message me on Instagram. You can email me at dannyfitness.com. If you're wanting to focus on your healthy lifestyle journey, I really always encourage everyone to not wait till the new year, but focus more on like just literally like the next day. Like, and again, like that's why I say after Thanksgiving, like going and getting your movement in so you feel better and not lethargic and feel like, like you didn't quote unquote lose all your progress, but keeping the mindset right versus being like, oh, I ate all of these things. I have to go work out. Not doing that. Like again, go for a walk, get your stress level down. If it was stressful with your family or whatever that goes down at Thanksgiving, like just kind of looking and asking yourself, like, why am I doing the things that I'm doing and moving forward with it that way. But yeah, but I'm here for any support as always, guys. And I really appreciate you listening as always. And if you need anything, just message. And I hope you find something that you're thankful for, grateful for, and can really enjoy this holiday season, whether you're with your family, alone, whatever, embrace it, enjoy it. And until next time.